Were you aware that houses spontaneously combusted when it hit 40 Celsius? Because I was not. And I'm not making light of it. I've had a friend who had a house burned down in the last couple of years, literally lost everything. I mean, absolutely horrific. Thank God everyone survived. It's a horrible thing to happen to anyone. But the idea that this is something that happens when you get 40 Celsius, is that a thing?
It's not something I had heard of, but I think now that it's cooled down a bit today, we can sit back with a bit more perspective. These were 2 days of incredibly hot temperatures. Some of us managed to enjoy those temperatures, some of us not so much. But it will have been tough for many people. And
some people will have died who will not otherwise have died.
That's right.
That is the case. But then again, that happens in cold weather as well, and to a much, much greater extent.
And that's a really important point here. Even on a moderately cold day in the winter, we may see a large number of excess deaths due to increased rates of stroke, more viral disease going around, and that just doesn't get the headlines that this extreme weather does.
Yeah.
And of course, none of this changes how we should approach climate change. We're all being told that as if we didn't realise climate change was a thing. They've been going on about this long enough now. We know that climate change is a thing.
It's time for a conversation about it. Oh my God, people talk about nothing else. But I mean, there's a lot of hysteria, and there was a lot of anxiety about, and this. Look, we need to face up to this and these dramatic pictures. There have always been fires when there's not much rain. If there'd been loads of rain lately, and then we would have had 2 hot days, that wouldn't have been an issue. There were excess fires yesterday as a result. I think the land is very dry, but that happens. We have wildfires across Europe. We have wildfires in Australia and California. We see all these. Of course, there are wildfires everywhere. That's just where we have 24-hour rolling news that we can see links to.
That's right, and I think people will nevertheless look at these events and think, what's going on? Is this something we should be more concerned about? And I think that's ultimately a reasonable way for people to behave. What I think they should learn from that is actually there are reasonable practical solutions to climate change, and then there's a harebrained scheme to completely change the way the world energy system works, with renewables, with forcing people onto heat pumps. That's net zero. That's the harebrained. The 90 minutes of debate in the House of Commons in 2019, and then we're just going to change all of our energy policy and industrial policy forever. That's right. And this approach of government picking winners, forcing people to buy things that they wouldn't otherwise want, ultimately that's not going to be a quick way to deal with climate change.
And the reality is, no matter how concerned people are, I mean, and why wouldn't we think it was a good idea to move to renewable energy? That would make sense, right? But if we haven't got the energy storage capacity, which we don't, and we are really nowhere close to right now, we're going to be needing to use gas, certainly in particular, and let's face it, nuclear as well, for a long time into the future, and decades into the future. No one sensible seriously thinks that we are going to be able to continue our lives without using gas, and that means it is going on. We need to be open about that. But in terms of practical solutions, in my instance, we get more aircon. I mean, we redesign our homes, the new built homes that are built. Railways, we adjust how those are adjusted for the different temperature ranges, as other countries which have different temperature ranges do for theirs. None of this is beyond the wit of man, is it?
Not at all. And the record is that we've become better and better at adapting to the world's climate. It's not like extreme weather is something new. Yes, climate change may be impacting it. However, we've had...
Again, that's a maybe.
I think it depends on which extreme weather type that you look at. But certainly there are some extreme weather types which aren't getting worse globally. Droughts and hurricanes and floods. These are things which are getting worse in some areas, getting less frequent in others. There aren't these big global trends.
It's almost like there's variation naturally, isn't there?
And there is a huge amount of variation. And what we have to remember is those kind of things with adaptation that you were talking about, they have a huge payoff that's guaranteed.
Human ingenuity. Again, it's the idea that we're all at the mercy of this, as opposed to this is something that we deal with. Harry Wilkinson, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much from Net Zero Watch. It's 8:29. This is Talk Breakfast.